Our first review of the night, Hell or High Water.
Yes, Hell or High Water, which I kind of chose spontaneously because it looked like a newer movie on Paramount Plus, and this is no longer as much of a concern for me because I now get it through Walmart Plus or whatever they call their subscription service. But I was like, oh, I'm spending $6 a month on Paramount Plus. I feel like we should review something from there every so often.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say it was a good choice. I vaguely remember when this movie came out, but I really didn't think much of it at the time. The only thing that kind of caught my eye were the two lead actors, Jeff Bridges and Chris Pine, which I think this movie came out the same year as the last Star Trek movie. So Pine had a kind of busy year in 2016.
All with Paramount. And also, you're the one who pointed out this was written by Taylor Sheridan of Yellowstone and various other fame.
Yes, which was surprising to me because I didn't realize he had been around that long, but I guess he had. And but I would say, having known that, though, it definitely fits the story and the plot and everything definitely fits with something he would write. So
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is the second movie that they have on IMDb with him as a writer on. The first one being Sicario from 2015.
which is another good movie. I've seen that one, and I didn't know he wrote that one either.
Yeah, so it seems like the themes he likes to go for are he does do period pieces too, things like 1883,
Yeah,
but he seems to like to go for the current state of the West.
yeah, yeah.
And boy, in this movie, it's kind of a damning portrayal.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, so the movie takes place mainly in kind of northwest-ish Texas. And it follows two brothers, the what were their last names? The Howards. Um, you got Chris Pine as Toby Howard, and then Ben Foster is his older brother, Tanner, and uh, they the two of them start going around robbing banks, specifically from this one branch called Texas Mid, or one bank called Texas Midlands Bank. They only rob those branches of that bank because they have the mortgage on their mother's ranch.
Mhm.
They're about to foreclose on. So they're stealing money from this bank, from the bank, and then what they do, it's kind of clever actually. What they do is they go around, they get the money from the cash from the bank. They go across the border to Oklahoma to a casino, a Native American casino, and act like that they won the money there, and then so that they can put the money to pay off the.
Right. They also only take whatever cash is in the cash register because that way there aren't any die packets. They aren't in sequential order. Nothing that would make the money look strange.
Yes, yeah, and of course, pursuing them are a pair of Texas Rangers. One of them is Jeff Bridges, who plays Marcus Hamilton, and then his partner Alberto Parker, who's played by Gil Birmingham. And I've actually he looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place him. Um, and
Yeah.
what's funny is
Oh,
with
he was Forge in X-Men 97, but that wouldn't help you recognize his face.
right, yeah, yeah. He could recognize his voice. I thought his voice sounded familiar. Now that I think about it. Um, but what's interesting is that, of course, Alberto is he's he's half Mexican and half what was it,
Native
Cherokee
American.
Indian? Yeah,
Yeah,
Native American. Yeah, Yeah, and Chris Bridges just needles him any chance he gets about his.
He is a walking HR incident in this movie.
Yes, he is.
Because the man is I think that there's like a, I don't know if I call it a theme, but there's sort of a shared connection because Bridges' character is basically 2 weeks from retirement.
Mhm.
And it's like he's trying to close out on a high note. Chris Pine's character is trying to pay off the farm so he can leave something to his kids.
Yeah.
Then Tanner Howard just wants to watch the world burn because it's a weird movie because I I think that if I was supposed to point at a protagonist, it would be Chris Pine's character.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's interesting because my initial reaction early on was, "Boy, they're doing a great job of making me hate the main characters."
Yeah.
Because it very realistically portrays bank robberies.
Yeah. It's not like something like Heat, for instance, where they just kind of show they just show the robbery. They actually in this movie they actually show the after effect of it.
Right, like the people with the injuries, or you have the poor sobbing women crying as these two men have guns pulled on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you recognize the one bank teller. Well, okay, so the one bank teller, she was in like Justified and a whole lot of other movies.
Yeah,
Um,
I immediately recognized her. I think it was Dale Dickey.
Dale Dickey, yeah.
Yeah, Dale Dickey. She was also apparently in Horizon, which we reviewed earlier this year. But that movie had so many characters, man. Like,
Yeah, I couldn't tell you where she was there.
but Dale was the cult leader in the women's prison in Justified's fifth season, I want to say.
I think that sounds right. Yeah. And then the other bank teller was the young woman. She was in Prey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yep, that fits now that you say it. Yep.
But
So,
yeah.
yeah, so they got a pretty good cast here.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's basically the crux of the movie is, them, Toby and Tanner, getting the money, and then Bridges, chasing them down. And a lot of the movie has, there's quite a bit of social commentary in this with regards to
Oh yeah.
like, uh, uh, with banks and, the culture of Texas, and the different groups and everything.
Right. The culture of poverty,
Yeah,
the um like it's just almost, it was almost like, okay, I get the point. Every time they were driving around town, it's like there were new and exciting uh, debt agencies that had billboards up.
yeah, yeah, and you can see the decay and
Hmm.
dereliction of the towns. Which, having driven through that part of Texas a couple of times, in the mid to late 2000s, I can kind of attest to that.
Yeah. At the same time, uh, one character makes reference to a $200 payment, giving her half of her month's mortgage. To which I can only say, cries in Seattle rent in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but so I would say that from like a actor and performance perspective, Chris Pine is almost too pretty for this.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
He's definitely the good brother.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. They definitely tried to make him look rougher around the edges. with like his makeup and his hair and clothes.
Yeah, sorry, you can't make that look hard bitten.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Jeff Bridges, as always, is a highlight for any movie he's in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, he definitely epitomized the old school Texas Ranger, which for those of you who don't know, by the way, I'm referring to the law enforcement agency, not the baseball team.
Yeah, a key point.
Yeah, yeah. The Texas Rangers, like I said, they're like a law enforcement agency. They kind of just kind of like a floating investigative thing. They whatever statewide issue comes up, they're usually there to investigate. If it's like if it crosses county lines or or city lines, they're usually there. And they
Mhm.
for a while they were actually pretty strict about their physical requirements, in particular their height. They were a bit like modern. They were like modern day women now. They wouldn't take anybody under 6 feet tall. But that they relaxed that because they needed more. They needed more Hispanics in the ranks. So yeah.
Which makes sense because you're going to be dealing with people who that dual language. I've had a week, but I've had a couple of weeks, folks. Sorry if I slur my words a bit. You need people with that bilingual nature to be able to make things happen sometimes, especially in
Yeah.
Texas.
Oh yeah, yeah. And what I also liked with Alberto was that there are a lot of guys in Texas that were just like him. You look at him and like, oh, kind of dark complexion, guy with a Hispanic name, and like, hi, how you doing? What?
Yeah.
You meet some guy named it says Jorge Gonzalez. Like, hi, how you doing? I'm George. Oh.
Yeah. George with a J. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I agree. The performances were really good. Uh, I will say like Ben Foster, who plays Tanner. I've seen him in other movies, and he seems to be he's he's kind of like the American version of Sean Bean. he he's every movie I see him in, he always dies.
Oh, spoilers there, Daniel.
Oh, sorry.
Snap. Look, look. We won't say what happened to everybody else. I will say though that boy, when Tanner gets his, I think I would say that was it Taylor? Yeah, Taylor. Excuse me, Toby. So Chris
Toby.
Pine's
Yeah.
character Toby, he is a if not good man, he is an okay man doing an awful thing for what he believes to be a good purpose.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of the killdozer mindset. I was reasonable until I was forced to be unreasonable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and his brother's helping him out because he's an experienced criminal, so he knows how to do all this. But at the same time, Tanner Howard did not need a reason or a justification to go out there and commit crimes. In fact, he kind of ultimately sinks their whole operation through his chaotic evil nature.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Especially in that last bank robbery.
Oh yeah. So you don't feel too bad about him. But what I will say is that I came away from the end of the movie feeling very ambivalent about the outcome.
Yeah.
Like it is not Chinatown where it's like, oh, this is a horribly bleak situation where absolutely nobody won.
Yeah, it's more like I'm trying to think of a movie where like, people came out ahead, but it was like, was it worth it?
Yeah, it's a Pyrrhic victory for the people involved, and also some good people died along the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not necessarily who you'd expect.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably what Tyler Sheridan was going for with it.
Hmm.
You know, he didn't necessarily, he wanted it to be kind of a morally ambiguous situation. You know, where you're kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, like there really no clear like good guys or bad guys.
Yeah. I mean, Paramount Plus calls it a neo noir movie, and I would say that definitely applies.
Yeah.
So, it's at the very least, the only movie I can think of that plays in its wheelhouse is No Country for Old Men, which I
Mhm.
haven't personally seen, but I'm aware of.
I would say it's fairly close to it. The only difference is this movie doesn't have a psychotic assassin going around just viciously murdering people. Uh,
Right. The closest you have there is Tanner, and he's more, again, chaotic evil rather than lawful evil.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I would give this at least a modest recommend.
yeah,
Again, if you're the type of person who insists on a happy ending for their stories or a clear ending, you aren't going to like it. If you enjoy this sort of think a little bit and enjoy the atmosphere movie, then go for it.
yeah. Indeed, yes.